So hello, nice to see you. I hope you're all well this evening. Before we start, I would like to apologize for my flippancy about the coronavirus the last couple of talks. Since then, a couple of people have sent me articles on the coronavirus, and I feel like I have a little bit of a better understanding about it. It could be that it's all a hoax, in the sense that it's all some political thing, like conspiracy from Russia or China or who knows, or from another species on another planet. Like, let's see what these humans do if we give them this bit of information. Could be, but more than likely it's not. And I was being flippant, I think, about people's fear or the self-isolating. And now I understand better that that self-isolating isn't about fear and isn't about people going into panic mode. It's about protecting more vulnerable people in our society, like, because the healthcare system will become overwhelmed and won't be able to help people, and those that are more vulnerable to infection, to illness, and the older ones in the society will be sort of left without any help. And so self-isolating helps us as a society protect those that are more vulnerable. And I didn't really perceive that before, but now I perceive that, and I think that social distancing and self-isolating in certain countries is most probably a good thing, if it is true that we have this big coronavirus. Like, it could all be like conspiracy, like a whole life, like I've never met a prime minister, like all these things. It could be like the Truman Show, but whatever the case, if it's not, and we don't do these things, then we're hurting other people, and why would we want to do that? It could also be that by self-isolating we crash the economy and then we hurt lots of people as well, but that's an unknown currently. And at the moment, I think it's maybe important to stop it spreading from everything that I've read. But at the end, I don't know, and you have to do your own research and you have to figure these things out for yourself. But I wanted to apologize myself for the older viewers and for the viewers that are more vulnerable currently. Yes. But that's enough about the coronavirus. Nobody else wants to hear any more about it. Like, the what? Yes. So what was the title of my talk? And I will start talking about non-duality. Boop, 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 boop. What you are, never, what you are, comma, it should be, never is born or dies. What you are never is born. Oh my goodness, Lisa, what type of sentence is that? What you are, comma, never is born or dies. I don't know if that's the best English in the universe, but there we go. That was the title of the talk, and we all kind of get what I was aiming at. So I thought it would be good to talk about life and death as we've had this whole coronavirus, like even on YouTube now, like I noticed that underneath the videos it's like, keep updated with coronavirus, like big adverts all over. So who is it that dies and who is it that's alive? This is so beautiful, this subject. It's so wonderful. Like, I've been in love with this subject for so many years. I'm a Gemini, so I tend to be quite fickle and like go from one thing to another thing or be fickle about things, but I've never been fickle about this subject. It's so beautiful. What is it that's here all the time, that never leaves? This is who you are. So most people think, oh, it makes me want to cry. So beautiful. Oh dear. Oh, got me this evening. Just so beautiful. So what you are, cannot die. What you are cannot suffer. What you are isn't born, isn't a thing, isn't contained, isn't limited. Isn't something that can be pointed at, but yet that's who you are. And that which you are isn't separate from everything that is. So most of the time, most people walk around in their bodies and they believe, I am a person inside this body. And I am somebody looking out of my eyes, and I am in relationship with you. I am in relationship with you. Whereas actually that's not the case. There isn't somebody in here in relationship with you, because there is no I and there is no you. That's completely illusory. It's a made up fictional story that's playing in most bodies, that's sitting there going, I am in here, I am me, I am this, I am that. Whereas who you are is what is. So you might think that you have a past and that you have a future, and that this world out there is real, that you're someone that could get coronavirus or won't get coronavirus, or is fucked off with it, or doesn't want to self-isolate, or doesn't want to do this, or doesn't want to do that. But that's not actually who you are. That's a play happening in who you are. Who you are is free, expansive, alive. Completely impersonal. You think also that you do your actions, that you wipe your nose, or that you have choice to do this or that, whereas actually there is nobody with choice. There is only this moment happening, and choice is illusory. Everything that you do, everything that you are, you could say is predestined, but there is no pre and there is no destined, it's just happening. But what I'm trying to say is that you could never do anything differently from what you do, because there's no one actually in there acting separately from life. Which means this is absolute forgiveness. There's nobody guilty, there's nobody innocent, you're not better than someone or worse than someone. We have society rules, but that's not what we're talking about here in non-duality. It's beyond good and bad and right and wrong. Like all of us on the human level, in a way, are sinners and saints. What is it, the famous saying, I always get this wrong, the famous saying by Jesus, be the first to throw a stone who has not sinned. Let the first person throw the stone that has not sinned. You know, I think it's about Mary Magdalene, they're going to stone her, or I don't know, it's about somebody that sinned. We're always so judgmental of others because we're scared of others, and it's a way of trying to control the other. it also means that any bad action that you do isn't yours. It happens because everything else that happens, everything else, every choice you've made, every mistake that you've made, every regret that you have, couldn't be any other way. It's just what's happening. And there isn't a you that's doing all these things. This obsession, this constant talking about you is illusory. And the same for anything that you think like, I did that really well. I am a very successful person. I am a very rich person. Again, this isn't you. This is just something that's happening. So anything that you believe is yours, that you believe you're successful at, isn't yours and isn't because of you. It's because it's happening, and it's nobody's happening. There is nobody in there doing it. There's nobody in there. There's nobody in here. It's happening. Like, how are you breathing? How are you speaking? How are you looking? The mind is like, me, I'm looking. I'm thinking. I'm doing. I'm creating, but who? I know I talk about doership later on in the talks of what you should or shouldn't do, but in a way, like it's the same as if like now you were like instructing me how to use that oven. It still doesn't mean there's free will. So maybe someone's like, oh, if you turn those knobs, if you turn them to number 1, the top surface will become a little bit warm. If you turn it to number 6, then it'll become really warm. And then this body is updated, and then the next time it cooks, it understands that, and if it wants it really hot, it turns it up to number 6. And if it wants it really medium, it turns it to like 2 or 3. So it understands that concept, but that doesn't mean there's somebody in there. That doesn't mean there's someone doing. So it's the same when I give descriptions, even though it sounds like prescriptions of like getting to know your chakras or sitting in the I am or doing meditation. These are just descriptions of what can happen in actuality. They're not prescriptions for someone to do, because who is this doer? And everyone's like, yeah, but you can't do something, or you shouldn't do something, or there's nobody doing something. But it works in exactly the same way as teaching someone to do the oven. It's not that there is somebody choosing. It appears that way because there's a voice saying, I'm doing it, I'm doing it. It's that we've got these really intelligent machines, and they get updated by the outside world. So if the outside world says there is big bad coronavirus, stay inside, these bodies are updated with these informations. They take in everything to account, and then they stay inside. But that doesn't mean that there's somebody actually in there choosing who. There is nothing looking out. There is nobody having an experience now. Like, what is it? Like, where is this person that's you? Where? Up the nose? In the eyeball? In the mouth? Ear hole? Other ear hole? In the hair? Who? Who's doing? Who? Who is it? Who's there? The mind is always telling a story. So what happens is you wake up in the morning, and what gets turned on instantly is this awakeness, is this presence, is this knowing of the world. And there's still nobody there. There's just wakefulness, knowing itself. It knows the room, it knows the sounds, not as a thought, not as an idea or concept, but just as it is, just knows it, alive and present radically, and there's total freedom there. And then the mind comes in and goes, hello, Robert, what are we doing today? What's on schedule? And then Robert thinks about himself and says, oh yes, I've got to go to work. And then he imagines himself going to work. I have to walk the dog, imagined himself doing that. I have to do this, I have to do that. imagines his house, imagines his room, his world. And then there's this Robert suddenly, this imagination, but that's all happening inside the brain. It's an imagination. That's not who's actually experiencing it. It's being experienced. So if I got a hammer and I walloped you over the head and you completely forgot all about your life prior to this moment, who would you be? If you couldn't remember yourself, who would you be? You'd be this awake presence experiencing itself, which that awake presence isn't separate from everything that's appearing. It is all things that are appearing. Dun dun dun! Boop boop! Boop boop! Boop boop! And one for luck. Boop boop! The mind goes, let me think about this a little bit more. So what she's telling me is that I don't exist. And notice when you're thinking about this subject that there's something watching that. That the thinking has its point, it has its purpose, it settles down the mind, things are understood, there's a resonance that can somehow happen after periods of thinking about it. But what's being talked about, what's being pointed to is beyond that one that can comprehend it. So right now I'm speaking. I have to look at my background to see what is in my background. And you can see this wonderful eclectic kitchen. You can see it's the opposite way around in my video on the screen. You can see the what's that? Coffee thing. You can see the hobs. You can see the cooker. You can see equipment, cooking equipment. You can see vegetables, and a tray and a cord and a fridge and a worktop and tiles. You can see all these things, and then you're focusing on me, and you're maybe thinking about me, and you're like, oh, what type of earrings are those she's wearing today? Can't say I like those very much. So you're having a little thought about me, or you're enjoying what I say, but the whole time there is a knowing of the background. Even though you're not thinking about it, there is a knowing of it. Just like there's a knowing of you that's thinking about me, there's a knowing of all your thoughts, and there's a knowing of my face, everything. But your knowing and your thoughts about yourself have become one and the same thing, and then you believe, I am a conscious thinker and a conscious being, where you're not. You're that awake presence that's not a thing and all things. Isn't that wonderful? It is nothing. Nothing. Not a thing. Not a thing. And everything. Isn't that extraordinary? Extraordinary. It's mind-blowing. Like, you could have brain farts. That all of this is being perceived, and it doesn't involve you or me. You and me are an experience happening in this knowing, and that's who you are. And that knowing is creating, and it's not consciously creating, it is creating spontaneously. And when I mean consciously creating, it's not sitting there in the background like, let me just get my typewriter out and think about this story. Oh yes, next, Lisa is going to raise her hand. Boop, 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 bing. And then it's spontaneously creating right here, right now, in this moment. It appears through cause and effect. So there seems to be a story where Lisa did all these things and then is at this moment and she's going to go on into the future. But that is just our current reality that we're experiencing through humanity. It doesn't mean it's the way reality is. It's humans' linear experience of reality. It's the 3 dimensions. 3rd dimension. But it doesn't mean that it's real. It is not real. It's an experience happening. Just like the characters and experience happening. But what is real? What's there beyond birth and death? Birth and death is a story that happens in this. What is real beyond that? And that is this awakeness. The awakeness never goes. You are awake. You had this awakeness when you were 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 18. 14, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Woohoo! I can do my 2 times table. But that's not who you are. The person that can perceive this, the person that can understand me, the person that's listening to me, it's not who you are. You are not a thing. Not a thing, which is all things. Which is really majestic. And you don't know it, so you, the one that thinks it's understanding me, that might be giving you mind orgasms at points, understanding this. But all of that's being experienced. Your essence doesn't understand or know me, it just is. And then at points, the person moves out of the way and there's a resonance with that. There's something waking up that seems to have been dormant, but it's always been there, but it's been hidden and contracted and hiding in the best place ever inside this illusory you. So that might begin to resonate with that. Or maybe it's already resonated. Maybe you're sitting there and you're like, ting, 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 yeah, 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 yeah. That's so free. But it doesn't experience anything. So your essence doesn't have any desire, doesn't have any want, doesn't have any feelings. It experiences all of that. All of that is like clouds coming in and out of the blue sky. It's not like a fixed thing. They're constantly muting and transforming and changing. The same with human life as well. Like they're like clouds, like we pop up and we think that it's a really long time that we're here, but actually we're just a form that's appearing, and then eventually it goes back into itself and transforms like a kaleidoscope into something else, which is stunning. So all of that is appearing in what you are, but your essence doesn't care about goodness or badness or right or wrong or what you do or what you haven't done. That's all in humans' world. That's all in the personal world. Your essence loves you no matter what. Your essence is holding you no matter what. It's not judging anything. We always look for that in the human. We look for this unconditioned parent figure in the human, and often in the spiritual teacher we're like, please be the perfect parent. Please forgive me and love me for all that I am, which is really sweet, but they won't. They'll let you down because they can't be that for you. Because what you're really looking for is that essence, that consciousness, that awakeness, that presence which is here holding everything. With its arms open, even though it doesn't have any arms or doesn't have any feelings or limbs or anything. Can't speak to you, be like, Miss Lisa. Just to let you know a little bit about what's going to happen in the future. As you might have suspected, everything will be okay. Oh, I can't knock our voice. Please, it's going to be like, "Row, row, 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 row. Who's at the table? Row, 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 row. There is somebody in the table. Row, 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 row." Got you, Khaleesi? I'm sure I've told you this loads of times before about Khaleesi. So Khaleesi grew up as a street dog. And when I lived in Thailand, she lived on my balcony. And she didn't know the concept of someone knocking on your door or ringing the doorbell. She didn't have that concept because I had like a bungalow and nobody ever knocked on my door. Like, there were big glass windows and you could kind of They just called from the bottom of the steps. It never happened. But amazingly, as soon as I brought her back to the UK and somebody knocked at the door or rang the doorbell, she instantly got that meant there's somebody coming. It's like intuitive, like she's collectively, she's connecting with the collective consciousness of dogs, and she's like, knocking or ringing means intruder. Row, 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 row. I don't know if you can hear her shut. Still from the... Sorry, Khaleesi. It's a bit tormenting her. You're tormenting her, Lisa. Stop it. She thinks there's people in the table. Sorry, EE. And they're suddenly going to explode out of the table. Oh my God, have I been talking a long time? It's 7:06. I've been getting excited. Now I find that the stream's not been working. Oh no, it's still working. There is people there. There is people inside the stream. 149 people. That is super abstract. There is 49 people. I think I just turned the stream off today. Nope. Oh my goodness, somebody sent me a funny message just before, I'll start taking questions in a minute, but just before oh, maybe they took it off Facebook. That was so funny. I couldn't share it. Oh yeah. So this was a tweet and somebody shared it with me on Facebook and I found it so funny. The World Health Organization has announced that dogs cannot contract the coronavirus. Dogs previously held in quarantine can now be released. To be clear, who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who? Who let the dogs out? Who? Shall I read it again for those that are still on the uptake? The World Health Organization has announced that the dogs cannot contract the coronavirus. Dogs previously held in quarantine can now be released. To be clear, who let the dogs out? Okay. Right, on to questions.